Okay, so in our last video, I talked a little bit about Python, and I showed you guys how to make a Hello World program, okay? And we looked at how to create a name and address program, okay? And to print those things on separate lines. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can create a program that will calculate the perimeter and the area of a rectangle when we know what the length and width are, okay? So I'm going to go over to my Python compiler. You'll remember from the last video, I chose to use the online version. That PyCharm is a Python compiler that you can download onto your laptop, and it makes things a little bit easier because you can save programs and that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you how to make a rectangle facts program. So I'm going to go to my Python compiler, which is what I was using before. Okay, and I want to introduce to you this concept called a variable. Okay, so a variable is something that we put into a program with a given value. Okay, and sometimes that value can change, so that's why we create it as a variable. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called L. Okay, so I type L and then I press equals, not plus, equals, and then I give L a value. Now, in this particular program, because I'm trying to create a program that gives me rectangle facts, the L stands for length. Okay, so the length of a rectangle. So I'm going to say the length of the rectangle is 8. Okay, now I'm going to show. I don't want to do that. Just 8. Okay, now I'm going to show you if we print print L, what we should see on the console or on the output or on the screen down here, I should see that it prints just 8. Okay, good. All right, so it's done that for me. Now, something else you might like to print, if we put in before that, I want to print a string first. Okay, so I want to print length is equal to, and I'm going to put a space after the 2, okay, put the inverted commas, and then a comma, L, and then I'm going to close the bracket, okay. So I want it to print, I want the console to print, or the computer to print, length is equal to, and then the value that I've given to L, which in this case is 8, okay. So I'm going to click run, and we can see down there, perfect. It's printed exactly what I wanted it to do using the variable, okay? It stated the variable as 8, okay, because that's what I told it to determine as the length. Now, if I change that variable, so let's say I want to make that 10 now, if I run it, it should say the length is equal to 10. Perfect, it's doing exactly what I want it to do. So as I change that value, it will change what happens when I run that program, okay? Now, I'm going to leave that. I want to put a line in the underneath the L. I'm going to call it W. So I'm going to introduce another variable. Okay, so I'm going to say W is equal to, I'm going to give that a value. I'm going to say 6. So we've got a rectangle with a length of 10 and a width of 6. Okay, now I'm going to create another line underneath that print line, and I'm going to say print, and I'm going to put a string. So the width is equal to, and I'm going to put a space, then inverted commas, and then I'm going to put a comma, and then W, okay, which is the width, which is the variable that I've determined up here. Okay, so when I print this, it should say the length is equal, length is equal to L, and the width is equal to whatever W is. So let's try that. I'm going to run it. It's always good to keep running your program as you put in new lines of code. Helps you to kind of detect any errors, or debug is something that we say when we're talking about coding. So that's working perfectly. So now I can keep going on my program. Okay. Now, after it's printed for me, the length is equal to blah and the width is equal to blah. What I want it to do is I want to determine what the area is equal to. Okay. So I'm going to create a new variable called A. Okay. And A is going to be equal to whatever the length is, so L, and then times, which is Shift 8, and then W. Okay, so the area is equal to length times width, because to find the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. Okay, so I've created that variable. Okay, now nothing's going to come up on the screen. So if I run that, okay, length is equal to 10, the width is equal to 6. I've determined what this variable is, okay, but I haven't told the console, I haven't told the computer to actually print anything regarding the area. Okay, so now on the next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type print, and I'm going to open the bracket, and I'm going to type area is equal to, and I put a space, and then after that string, which I've defined with those inverted commas, I'm then going to type A. Okay, so I want the computer to print area is equal to whatever that variable A is equal to. So I'm going to click run, and you can see there, I'll scroll up, we've got length is equal to 10, the width is equal to 6, and therefore the area is equal to 60. Okay, now it seems to be putting a double space in there, so I'm just going to try taking that space away. I'm going to print that. Oh, okay, cool. So it's actually already sensing or determining that I want a space in between the string and the variable. Okay, so I'm just taking those spaces out of there. Again, every time you make a change, run it. Just make sure that you've got no bugs in there. All right, length is equal to 10, the width is equal to 6, and area is equal to 60. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, just to make the length and the width the same, I'm going to change that string. Okay, now I want to show you if we change L, so if I change that to 7, for example, run it, it calculates the new area for me. Okay, so I don't need to go ahead, I don't need to go and redefine A as length times width. It already does that for me. It's going to keep changing. If I make these values here 5 and 3, okay, it should spit out that the area is equal to 15, which it has. Okay, so length is 5, width is equal to 3, area is equal to 15. Okay, so now I want to determine what the perimeter is. Okay, now to find the perimeter, I'm going to define the perimeter as P, and that's equal to, now I want you to think of a rectangle. There's 4 sides, okay, and 2 of them are the length. So I do 2 times L, okay, because around the outside of a rectangle, I cover the length twice. The top and the bottom gives me the length, okay, plus I've also got 2 widths, okay, I've got a width on either side of the rectangle. So I'm going to do 2 times W, okay, and that's the formula that that we use to find the perimeter of a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to press enter to go to my next line. Okay, now again, if I run the program, it's not going to tell me anything about the perimeter because I haven't told the computer to print anything regarding the perimeter yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a print line of code. So you choose print, and then I'm going to type a string of the perimeter, or perimeter, not the perimeter, just to keep it in line with what I've done above. Perimeter is equal to, and then I'm going to put a comma after that string, and then I'm going to put P, okay, P for perimeter. Now, if I run that code, okay, I've defined these variables, okay. Now, again, if I change these values of L and W, it's going to change what happens down here. But let's just run it as is. Alright, so let's just double check. Okay, so the length is equal to 5. Good, that's right. The width is equal to 3. Perfect. The area is equal to 15. That makes sense because it's 5 times 3. Now the perimeter is equal to 16. Now let's think about that. If we go around a rectangle, I'd be adding 5 plus 3, so that's 8, plus another 5, which is 13, plus 3 again, which is 16. Perfect. It's done that for me there. So this is your program here. This is what happens when the computer runs your program down here. Okay, so then again, let's just change the values again. So let's change that to 8 and 2. Okay, so we should be expecting that the area is equal to 16 and the perimeter should be 8 and 2, 8 and 2, which is 20. Let's run it. Great. 8, 2, 16, 20. Perfect. All right. So this is your program here. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take a screenshot. I like to use snipping tool. And I'm going to screen capture all of that, all the important stuff. And then I'm going to save that as rectangle facts. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to close that. I'm going to put it up on my student Weebly page. I'm going to put it next to those other programs that I've created as an image. So I've just dragged an image over. So I just clicked on image, dragged it over. Now I'm going to upload from my computer. Rectangle facts. Awesome. Alright, so there you've got your 3 programs that you needed to create using Python. Okay, so now all you need to do is make sure that you click publish so that I can see it. And then you are done. That's it. Now, I like to, whenever I've made changes to my website, I like to go and check it out. So I've just clicked on the link there. It's brought me to the live page. Remember that the password is GHS if you haven't used that already. So I'm going to scroll down. Alright, here's my task, Google Sheet 1. You guys would have Google Sheet 2 as well. AI slideshow. Then you'll have a certificate of your code.org project. And then you've got your 3 Python tasks there. Okay. Now actually, it's getting a little bit like kind of cluttered there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a heading above my Python tasks. And I'm going to say, here are my Python programs. 1, 2, and 3. They're my Python programs there. Then underneath that, you could put any of the additional work that you want to do. Okay, so if you want to go to Codecademy and do a Python course there, you can do that, or you can go and learn another language at Codecademy, or you can download that file there. Okay, I'll just give you a quick look at that. As I said, this is something that I went and did at the Gordon Python workshop programming, and it just steps you through everything you need to do to understand that language. Okay, and it kind of takes you through step by step. There's a whole heap of writing first, and then there's some activities. So it's good to read all of this stuff. If you've done a fair bit of coding before, you might just like to skim over it, kind of like what I'm doing now, just having a bit of a squiz as we go. Alright, so now from here, it kind of steps you through different programs. So you can see there's the Hello World program that we looked at. Okay, it talks about some of the different functions and how Python works. And then, so you can see the same thing that we did up there. Keep scrolling down, keep scrolling down. Okay, then there's some Python exercises that you can do. Okay, and it'll step you through how to do each of those. Okay, so that's a really good way to, I guess, extend your knowledge of Python. Yeah, so you can do that there. Alright, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.